Welcome into Hand Raise, guys, here on this Wednesday night. I want to say Thursday night, but it's Wednesday night. I'm Neal McCready in the Clark Ford Studios, solo edition of the show. You got to forgive me a minute if you would. I'm a little distracted, had some things going on. My head's a little scattered right now, but I'll pull it together. We'll take some calls here on the on the Campbell Clinic Hotline momentarily. It's up. Actually, I had to reset some things, so hopefully everything's good. I tested it. It was working. I am going to fix the echo cancellation there now. Anytime you reset it, you have to redo a lot of that stuff. You guys don't care. It doesn't matter. It's fine. It's a show, each and every show brought to you by our good friends at Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. Got to find the ads, everything. Again, just a total, little bit of a cluster. Been a busy afternoon. Been a busy afternoon on the MPW Digital. The Josh Hendrickson show just aired momentarily ago. So appreciate Josh for his time. Hope you guys enjoyed that show. It's up in podcast form as well. If you're out and about listening, it's available to you. This show, each and every week, brought to you by our friends at Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating, different names, same great people, products, and services. About time to start getting that air conditioner checked. It's starting to warm up outside. I'm sure there's another cold front coming through. It's just still early March. Typically have another cold front coming through. So you've got some time, but now would be the time to discover that you have something wrong with your AC. Maybe it's a minor thing that needs to be fixed. Maybe you just need some Freon. Maybe it's just a little tune-up. Now's the time to find out. You know the warm weather's coming, so you can get in touch with those guys now at Comer, at Southern. They'll take great care of you. If you're in Oxford, Batesville, Tupelo, get in touch with our friends at Comer. That number is 662-801-1777. If you live in Memphis, South Haven, Hernando, Olive Branch, those areas, call Southern, 662-429-4429. I'm in the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you are looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. Right to the bottom line. There's no hassle. There's no haggle. You get your quote. The rest is up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and that is hop into a Clark Ford today. 662-257-1900. Corey and the people at Clark Ford, they want to be your car guy. They want to be your truck guy. They'll prove to you what that means when you make the call. 662-257-1900. This serves as the Friday edition of Blue Sky Live. If you're coming in this weekend, you got Ole Miss baseball, Ole Miss basketball hosting South Carolina. It's the regular season finale of a regular season that, boy, can't really end soon enough. One that's been very frustrating for Ole Miss. We'll talk about that probably some over the course of this show. And then baseball this weekend as well. I know there's baseball going on as we speak. Tyler Comas covering the game this evening. I guess it's later this evening for Rebels 24/7. He'll have coverage there tonight, and then Chase Parham will have coverage this weekend. Ole Miss in Evansville, weather permitting, and they always work it out. We always do this. Looks like there's going to be some rain in the forecast, and everybody goes, "What's going to happen? Are they going to fix this doubleheader or whatever?" They always get them in. Always get the games in. So baseball scheduled this weekend versus Evansville. And then, of course, next weekend, Ole Miss heads to Texas as the start of SEC play all around the league. The first of 10 SEC weekends for everybody. So it should be quite interesting as we get into the meat of the college baseball season. I mentioned Blue Sky, though. If you're coming in this weekend, stop at Blue Sky in Oxford, anywhere. Blue Sky all over the state of Mississippi. It's always convenient to fill up at the pump, and you can go inside and fill up as well. They've got you can get your cooler stacked for the weekend ahead. You can get plate lunches, ribs, all sorts of things there at Blue Sky all over the state of Mississippi, including the one right here in Oxford. Rest in peace to Lou Holtz. I had a long, I talked about this on the Josh Hendrickson show. long, very successful career, not only in coaching but also in television. I was fortunate enough to meet Coach Holtz a couple of times. One time in particular that I remember, and he was one of those people that had the gift of making you feel like you were really special when you were talking to him. Josh Hendrickson was talking about Lou Holtz and Bobby Bowden in a game that they coached against one another earlier in Holtz's head coaching career. I think at William and Mary, and it was funny. It just reminded me of an older era of college football with two guys, Lou Holtz, Bobby Bowden, that I have just immense respect for both of them. I've told the Bobby Bowden story a few times, so if you listen to the Hendrickson show, you'll hear that. I'm not going to be repetitive with it and drive people crazy and turn into the old man that tells the same story all the time. We can start with basketball in a minute. I'm going to do this though, because I don't want to argue. But earlier this week, I was talking about student fees at schools. I have a son who's at the University of Arkansas right now as a freshman. And I said that I don't think adding fees to students' bills to pay for athletes to get NIL is fair. More than fair, I think it's fundamentally wrong. Ole Miss Rebel Chuck, I'm not sure how you say this, but he's laughing at me. He says, "Blah ha 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 ha," something along those lines. He says, "People don't have to go to U of Arkansas. Don't go there. Don't pay the fees!" Exclamation point. How is that not fair when you are giving the consumer the choice? I'll concede that he has a point that's logical. I think it's wrong. I think it's fundamentally wrong at that point, if I'm honest. My point is simple. There's lots of kids, lots of students. Let's use the term students. There are lots of students at institutions all over the country that aren't there because of anything to do with athletics. They're not. They're there because they are pursuing an education, in many cases in a specific degree field. I talked about Arkansas. I mentioned Arkansas specifically. If you're a prospective nursing student, perhaps growing up in the state of Arkansas, that's where you want to go. You want to go to the in-state school, or you're from a neighboring state. They have a neighboring state program that waives a great amount of out-of-state tuition for certain students. If you're there in nursing, there's not a lot of alternatives. There's not nursing schools everywhere. That is a very prestigious nursing school, public nursing school. Just using nursing as an example, there's a lot of those kids that aren't there for athletics. They don't care about the sports. They don't go to the games. Probably don't. A lot of those kids, if we're being honest, don't even know that there's games going on. They don't even know there's teams there. They don't care. It's not why they're there. A lot of those kids, if we're being honest, are making sacrifices to go to college. Their families are making sacrifices for them to go to college. They're taking out student loans that are borderline predatory, that will have to be paid back for years. All I said was, I think adding to that debt so that other students who happen to be able to play sports can get paid extra on top of their free education is absurd. Now, you can disagree with that. You can blah ha 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 at it if you'd like. It's cool. It doesn't bother me. It's fine. But that was the point. It's not about fairness. I do think it's absurdly unfair, but it's not really about fairness. It's about right or wrong. It's the same thing I feel about the waiving the state income tax for NIL or rev share for athletes in the state of Mississippi. There aren't enough for this to really matter. It's not enough. There aren't enough high earning athletes at Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Southern Miss, really those are the only schools, to worry too much about it. It's the principal. You have a student athlete making $800,000, $1 million for one season, not paying taxes to the state of Mississippi, while a teacher, a law enforcement officer, a healthcare provider, anything, they have to pay in-state tax. I'm for waiving state taxes in all. I'm for a consumption tax. I've said that many times. But as long as you have that tax, I think it's absurd, the idea that you would waive it for athletes, but not for teachers. That's all. Free to disagree. It's more than fine. I'm good with it. It's one of the great parts about debate, message boards, everything else. You're absolutely free to completely disagree with anything that I might say. I mean, some people agree with me. Some don't. Some people sort of get personal with it. Some don't. That's fine. I can handle it. No big deal. Phone lines are open if you'd like to call. Campbell Clinic Hotline, 662-426-1464 is the number. I mentioned basketball. Ole Miss lost in overtime on Tuesday night to Vanderbilt. Rebels now 4-13 in the SEC. They'll play South Carolina on Saturday at noon. Tyler Comas will have coverage for us at Rebels 24/7. South Carolina 3-14. The SEC tournament begins Wednesday in Nashville. Ole Miss will absolutely play on Wednesday. That's been locked up for a while. If they win on, I mean, none of this matters. If they win on Saturday against South Carolina, they'll be no lower than the 15. I think they can work their way into the 14 if Mississippi State loses. If Ole Miss loses on Saturday to South Carolina, they would then lose the tiebreaker to South Carolina. Ole Miss would be the 16 seed. If you're thinking about times when you go to Nashville, don't hold me to this. I don't have it in front of me, but I did look at the bracket earlier today. The 16 plays the 9 seed in the first game on Wednesday, so 11:30. They're at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. The 15 seed, if I remember correctly, plays in the late game, the final game, which would typically start around 8:30, 8:45 on Wednesday night there at Bridgestone. So, and then if Ole Miss were to win, you play the same time on Thursday that you played on Wednesday. So if you played the 11:30 game on Wednesday, you would turn around and play the 11:30 game on Thursday. Obviously the same. If you played the late game, you'd play the late game again on Thursday night, in case you are holding on to some sort of fantasy that Ole Miss gets to the NCAA tournament. It would take 5 wins in 5 days: Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, against 5 SEC opponents there at Bridgestone. And if you won all 5 somehow, it'd be one of the big miracles in all of sports, you would make it to the NCAA tournament as an at-large bid. I've told this story before. It would be a bigger upset than this, but in 2008, my final assignment at the Mobile Register, I covered the SEC tournament in Atlanta at the old Georgia Dome, and Georgia came out of nowhere, actually won the tournament, got an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament, saved Dennis Felton's job. He 11-14 is the late game. Okay, so the 15 plays at 6 o'clock. Then is that right? Legend 24245 corrects me there. Arkansas and Texas playing the only SEC men's game of the evening. Arkansas leads Texas 13-4 in the very early going there at Bud Walton in Fayetteville. Both of those teams playing for seeding tonight. I think Arkansas can wrap up a top 4 in the SEC tournament with a win today. Texas has played their way off the bubble and into the NCAA tournament. Dalen Swain's been fantastic for them. Darius Acuff Jr. really great for Arkansas as they get going tonight. Everybody else played in the SEC last night, including Ole Miss, which had a 12-point lead in the first half. Just couldn't hang on to it. A lot of turnovers, 17 turnovers, and had a couple of controversial calls late in that game. Thank you, Legend. I appreciate that. A couple of controversial calls late in that game on reviews, appeals, including what ended up being a flagrant one call against Malik Dia that not only fouled him out, but let Vanderbilt go to the free throw line, make 2 free throws to tie the game, have the basketball. Vanderbilt did not score at the end of regulation, and then to send it to overtime. The game went to overtime, and then in overtime, Tyler Tanner was a little too much for Ole Miss, but the Rebels were still in the game. Had a couple of opportunities. To get back in it, and frankly, the officials missed a call. Elias Camerdine went to the free throw line, made a free throw, and then the Ole Miss bench was watching on their iPad and saw what they thought was a flagrant foul committed by Vanderbilt against Patton Pinkins. So Chris Beard, in a moment of frustration, asked for the appeal, was granted the appeal. The appeal went, the officials went to the table, looked at it, and deemed that it was a basketball play. Camerdine missed the subsequent free throw. Leverett, I believe is his name for Vanderbilt, 57% free throw shooter, got the rebound. Ole Miss fouled immediately, but the officials said that Vanderbilt had called for a timeout before the foul. So instead of sending Leverett to the line, Vanderbilt was able to inbound the ball to Tanner, so much better shooter. First round pick. We'll talk about him in a minute. First round pick for Vanderbilt. He goes to the free throw line, knocks down both free throws to give Vanderbilt a 3-point lead. With about 16 seconds or so left, Ole Miss had one last crack at it. Patton Pinkins took a 3 from the top of the key. A little strong with the shot, hit the back of the rim, bounced away, and Tanner got the rebound. Vanderbilt wins. The Commodores definitely headed to the tournament 23-7, I believe. 10-7 in the SEC. They're headed for the NCAA tournament in a couple of weeks. Nice win for them. But after the game, while Chris Beard was talking to the media, the SEC sent a text to Ole Miss officials admitting they missed the call on Pinkins. And again, a win for Ole Miss in that game doesn't really change the calculus for the Rebels. But every game matters. This is an Ole Miss team that's played really hard. They haven't quit. They have every reason in the world sort of to justify quitting. They haven't quit. And another disappointing loss. I'm working on a kind of an end of the season story, and in doing it, you go back through some of the games over the course of the year, and it's remarkable how many one possession games this team was in, like last 4 minutes of games all season. And then what's even more remarkable is how many of those games they've lost. It's a stunning number. It's like 4 and 12 in those numbers. And I might be underselling it. It might be more than 4 and 12. Makes you wonder, you change half of those. Are we having a different conversation today about basketball? There certainly would be a different level of interest in what's going on. NBA game getting started at Madison Square Garden in New York, where Ole Miss played back in December. It's the Thunder looking for their 49th win of the year against the Knicks, looking for their 41st win of the year. The Knicks 5 days ago dominated the Detroit Pistons, and so they're looking to knock off 2 of the top contenders in the NBA in the same week. They lead the Thunder in the very early going 3-2, so way too early to even look at the scoreboard on that one. College basketball is a good product. How do they fix the officiating issue across the country? I agree with you, Adam. It is a good product, although I think it's a tough watch right now because of all the replays, because of all the appeals, because there's a confusion even among the coaches about what can be appealed, when it can be appealed, how it gets appealed. I told someone at Ole Miss last night, I think the conversation was private, so I won't say who it was, but I said there's a fix to this. It's kind of baffling to me, honestly. I've got the NBA on here. If we were to turn it on, you see I got the NBA right there on that screen. The NBA has a challenge system with the coaches. So right now, Mike Brown of the Knicks, Mark Daigneault with the Thunder, they each have a challenge. They can use it whenever they'd like. The referees will go to the table. They'll go to Secaucus, New Jersey, and they'll either affirm or deny the challenge. If they affirm it, you keep your challenge and you get another challenge. If you lose it, you lose your challenge for the rest of the game. It makes it where you have to be judicious with how you use your challenge. You have to be strategic with how you use your challenge. They do this in the NFL. You know, the coaches have the red flag. You can't just throw it 10 times. I mean, you've got a time or two you can throw it, and you need to be right. So it puts the onus on the people in the booth, the people that are watching the replay, the people that are watching the iPad to get it right. And so it actually becomes an entertaining part of the NBA game, of the NFL game. You know, you don't want to call for a challenge and miss. Throw your challenge away in the first quarter, and then a play happens in the third quarter, and you can't challenge it. They could fix that at the college level. It's not hard. They've made this thing way too complicated, way too convoluted. And to Chris Beard's credit last night, he wasn't really bitching about officiating. Was he frustrated? Of course he was frustrated. They've lost multiple games this season, at least 2 that I know of for sure, and almost certainly more. There's been a reference to more where the league has come out later and said, hey, we missed this call. Sorry. Well, the sorry doesn't change your win-loss record, you know. But this team isn't where it is today because of officiating. And he wasn't saying that. What he was saying was, and it just gets lost in the translation, and maybe it's because I'm not a good enough writer and I didn't write the story well. But what he was saying was, the tournament's coming up. It's the 1 month a year that the college basketball world basically has the sports spotlight to itself. Major League Baseball hasn't started. It's going to get started. The NBA's not to the playoffs yet. We're not quite to the NFL draft craziness. The Masters is around the corner, but it's not here yet. Yeah, you've got NASCAR and you've got some stuff, but college basketball sort of dominates the sports landscape in the month of March. And you might mar it if people, every time they turn on the games, all they see are replays. They might not keep coming back. And that's the point. You want to put your best foot forward. Chris's point was, hey, look, if this is what's coming in the tournament, people are not going to like this. They're not going to like 3.5-hour TV windows. One of the things people love about college basketball is that you turn on a college basketball game and in roughly 2 hours, you reach the conclusion. That's appealing to most people. It's one of the things that makes the NFL so appealing is that you turn on an NFL game at noon and somewhere around 3 o'clock, that game's going to be over. You turn on a game at 3:05 and sometime around 6:05, 6:10, that game's going to be over. The 3:25 games are going to be over by 6:30. You're going to get the NFL, the NBC pregame show. Then you're going to get the 7:15 kick to wrap up your Sunday of watching the NFL. It's specific TV windows that consumers enjoy. And in college basketball, you assume it's going to be a roughly 2-hour window. And when the window goes 3 hours, you're frustrated. People want to watch the game that starts at 5:15, and if the game that starts at 3 goes until 5:45 and they can't find the first 30 minutes of their game, they're going to be frustrated. And the tournament wants to avoid that. That was his point. And he's exactly right. And the people that turn that into, well, he's bitching about officiating. I mean, yes and no. Mostly no. Yeah, Adam says, completely agree. Every time Pat Adams officiates the game, it feels like a 3+ hour game, which is crazy for college basketball. Yeah. You don't turn on a college basketball game expecting it to last 3 hours. You don't turn on a college basketball game to see nothing but fouls in the second half of a game, to see reviews, to see appeals, to go and appeal a play that happened 30 seconds earlier. And it was within the rules what Vanderbilt did last night. Let me be perfectly clear. Vanderbilt, Mark Byington and his staff, they did nothing wrong. They followed the rules. Byington, to his credit, said, hey, I don't really like this, but, it's my job to use the rules to our advantage. And in this case, they felt like Malik Dia had tripped one of their guys, A.K. Ikariki, and they felt like they would win if it went to the appeal, and they did. And it kept them in the game and ultimately put Vanderbilt in a position to get to overtime where they won. So you can't fault Byington for it. Earlier in the game, they had appealed a call, and it turned out that the call actually went Ole Miss's way. And Byington was furious at his iPad guy. Like, no, that's not your job. But had they had NBA rules, they would have lost the early challenge and not had another challenge. They wouldn't have been able to challenge the Dia play. You would have brought strategy into it. And maybe that would enhance the college game. I think it would. As someone who consumes a lot of NBA, I think the NBA strategy of the coaches having to strategize when to use a contest and when not to, I think it adds to the theater of the contest, adds to the theater of the game. And it also prevents too many. And sometimes you get late 2 minutes where you get a ball off a finger and they go look at it. NBA is also much more efficient with their reviews. College basketball's got to figure out a way to be quicker. Some of these reviews at the college game are 5-6 minutes. By the time they come back, you don't even know what the hell they were appealing anymore. And because of the way that the referees communicate, it's not communicated within the building. Go to an NBA game, when there's an appeal, you hear what the result of that appeal was. You get almost a narrative from the officials that's more pleasing to the consumer. You don't get that in the college game. There were times last night when I had people texting me telling me what was going on because I didn't have the TV broadcast available to me. Hey, caller, who do we have?
Yo, it's Grind.
What's up, Grind? How are you?
Oh man, leaving client's house in Satsuma, headed back to Mobile. God dang, tired, dog tired, but hey, it's better, better than alternatives. So I take that.
How'd that go? How's business?
Business is actually pretty good, man. Between you're gonna find this funny because you know more details about it, everything. But
Yep.
4 people actually called my business partner today. That was I guess got shifted over and was like, hey man, we ain't liking this, so we dropped them, we joining y'all type things. I was like, all right,
I told you.
Okay, and so
I told you.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
You did.
I did.
You did.
Oh, I'm happy for you, man.
I will say, I will say this. I do find it funny how the women in my life, like my grandmother and my mother and them, I like they're calling me daily with like updates because, like you said, it's like the soap opera.
Yeah.
But obviously, like my dad and like he's not like that. So I am kind of finding it funny how like the women versus the men are kind of like wanting updates and everything. And I'm like, as of right now, thankfully everything is all quiet on the Western Front.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well,
They did short my ex coworker $350 off his last check though. So
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I don't know.
That doesn't surprise you, does it?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I mean, just based on the little bit that I've heard of the whole story, that doesn't even register on the surprise meter.
Yeah. Now I will ask you this, man, because the whole thing has caused me to be hated, and so by people. I mean, I obviously you can probably put two and two together.
Yeah.
And like this is really the first time in my life to where I'm like truly hated.
Yeah.
Like,
So you're gonna ask me,
like
Neal, how do you
hated.
handle being hated?
I hate to ask you that, man. I usually do, bro. I promise I do.
I mean, I think so. This is like the psychology of this, right? Is that you have to remind yourself that, at least I do, that the people who quote hate you, they don't really know you. And so they don't actually hate you. They hate either a version of you or they hate who they think you are.
Even the person that I could have known, that like known for 10 years.
Yeah, to some degree. I mean, I think you can know somebody for 10 years and not really.
If it's just really a work relationship, yeah.
Yeah, sure. If it's just a work thing. I mean, I don't think it's inconceivable that you work with somebody for 10 years and not really have a true interpersonal relationship. I don't think that's inconceivable at all, I mean, especially
has there ever been anyone in your life that you kind of like I'm not going to say looked up to, man, cuz it's not like I looked up to that person. It was just as if they had reached a certain point in their career, and I guess you could say admired, and I liked the way that they reached that point.
Sure.
From what I knew of that person, you know what I'm saying, from the peripheral of a work aspect, and I said if I could reach that same peak in the same manner, then I would find that cool. So I don't want to say idolize because it's not like that, but it's just like I guess it's kind of hard to really. I can't really find the word. I guess that's why I'm like asking you to like grasp for straws here. But it's like, man, if you kind of like if a guy, guy that's in a higher position that you like, man, yeah, like I kind of picture myself being in that guy's shoes one day, and then that guy ends up hating you.
Yep.
Because you end up getting in that position, but not by means of but not how they pictured it happening. I mean,
I can't say that's happened to me. There have been people that I have viewed as kind of mentors that I aspired to sort of get to where they got, and then I got to know them and was very disappointed. That's definitely happened with like the type of either person they were or the way that they treated me or the way that they, treated other people, but usually the way they treated me, to be completely honest. Yeah, I mean that's definitely happened. I don't know. I'm maybe this is my old age grind, but I think that I've reached a conclusion that I think you have to try to only focus. I think you have to. It's going to sound really morbid, but sometimes when stuff like that, when I think you have to ask. At least I ask myself if I died today, just passed away today, would that person even think about me a week from now? And if the answer is no, that's okay, right? I mean, life goes on. I mean, time marches on. But if the answer is no, I think you have to be careful with how much you really concern yourself with what that person thinks and how they feel about you. If the answer is yes,
yeah.
If the answer is yes, then I think you have to really, you need to apply a lot more energy to that relationship, and it's kind of what I've done. Certainly, as I've gotten older, is I mean, there are a lot of people that don't like me, and then the people that do, but there are a lot of people that don't, but what they don't like about me is really not a part of me. It's not something that if I were to die today, the people that really care about me would even talk about, right? So, I think that's, And then I think the other hard part that's really hard for men, that's a challenge, is I think you have to be willing to separate your work from your life, because they're not one and the same.
Mm. Yeah,
That's a male struggle. That's something females kind of get right. I think. I think they're able to do that much easier than men are.
I agree. And my last thing before I move to sports, just on that, I think you did just thinking about the timeline or the timeline you picked. It's not who would come to your funeral. It's who would be thinking about you a week later. That is a good.
Oh yeah. It's not the funeral. No. Because there'd be lots of people that. No. It's one of the reasons I'm not like I've said this publicly. I don't really want to have a funeral. I'm not going to be there. I wouldn't know, like, honestly, but like I think there'd be a lot of people who would come to my funeral who they wouldn't really care about me. I mean, I did tell my daughter one day. I did say this. I'm trying not to be super personal anymore, but I did tell her, I'm like, if y'all ever insist on having some sort of service for me, and my service is nothing but a bunch of people standing up there talking about, well, he was this kind of sports writer. I said, I will. If there's a way for me to haunt you, I will. Like, that's the last thing I want. I would not. If you told me today that, yeah, you got to have a Hugh Freeze moment and watch your own funeral and everything was about your career, I'd pass. That would tell me that I failed as a person.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah.
I mean, I would hope that at my, I would hope that if
about the love and
I would hope that if I had if the people in my world insisted on having some sort of memorial service, if it were about anything other than me as a dad and a son and a brother and a husband and stuff like that, if it was beyond anything about that, I would be really disappointed. Just to be honest. I mean, I don't. 50 years from now, 50 days after I'm gone, no one's going to care about anything I ever wrote. My opinion.
See, I'm not okay. I think you guys do. I don't think you guys give yourself enough credit as far as your time with Ole Miss and how many just like mile marker points you guys have covered for Ole Miss. I think you guys underestimate that to
Could
where,
be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not trying to say, hey, you're gonna have Rebel Grove 33 minutes. I'm not trying to say any of that. I'm just trying to say I think you guys may underestimate that a little bit. But moving on to sports.
All right.
I'm just gonna jump in and ask it, man. Cause I'm gonna talk about it tonight when Mo pull up. Had Bruce Pearl left the right way, with Chris Beard that can't come to the Plains, would he be head basketball coach at Auburn?
I think he would have been on the short list. I do. Bruce. Bruce.
Okay.
I love Bruce, but I think
you can go ahead and finish.
I love Bruce Pearl. He's never been anything but great to me. So that's how I'm going to judge him, right? And he took Auburn to 2 Final Fours. He's an elite coach in my mind. But he very clearly, intentionally set this up so that his son could get the job. I mean, he did it in a way that Auburn had no choice but to hire Stephen, and Stephen got a long-term deal. And from a father standpoint, man, I get it. I do. I understand why he would do that. I understand why Auburn fans are frustrated. I totally get it, because he, at least right now, looks like the program is taking a step back, and
oh my God,
and that might be putting it mildly. And this, and I know this from covering Auburn and living in that state for as long as I have. It's Auburn being a basketball power is not that's not something that's written in blood.
It's not a given, brother.
No, that's written in sand.
It can easily go away.
Easily. I mean, just a couple of waves on the shore, and that writing's gone. So, I mean, I get the frustration on the Plains.
Did Auburn have the? But you're at SEC school, bro. Why couldn't you just slap an interim tag on him? You're an SEC school.
I don't know. I don't know what the inner workings were. I mean, I get a feeling there's more to that story, but, I mean, Auburn loved Bruce Pearl and he loved Auburn, and it was this, happy, chummy relationship. And no offense, I think you'll agree with this. That place can get a little weird about family and stuff. And I think they kind of made a sentimental decision.
But he's not his dad even personality-wise. And I think I called in and said this when he was hired. I was like,
he's his mom.
Personality-wise, he's like a New Yorker type dude. He's not an Auburn Southerner kind of, charming guy.
No, you know what's funny? You know what's funny is when they played in Oxford, I know some people who are typically where they sit, they really get to hear the opposing coach. And, they've heard a bunch of them over the years. And, man, they were like, wow, Stephen Pearl. Wow. Like, you couldn't bring your kids there. They were like, that's the worst that was the most profane they'd ever heard. They were stunned. I mean, and you get around SEC coaches and, hey, look, it's going to be really hard for you to be shocked or offended because a lot of them have a pretty strong grasp on the vocabulary. But they said the way he treated his fellow coaches, the way he treated some players was intense. So, yeah, he's a totally different guy than his dad.
And it's just, I mean, okay, the thing about it is that part is done. He's the head coach of Auburn as of now. It's crazy to think that you look at Florida's conference record and one of their losses came to this team at home. It's crazy to think about that.
Yeah.
Bro. And so I guess as of right now, they just beat LSU. Do you think they make the tournament?
I think they have to beat Alabama.
Because if they don't,
I don't think they beat.
So
I don't think they win the tournament losing to Alabama on Saturday. I think they have. I mean, get to the tournament. I think they have a real chance to get there if they win in Tuscaloosa, just because the metrics and such. But I think it would take that. The loss to Ole Miss at home was a bad metric loss. Bad.
Yeah, I agree. All right, man. Before I let you go, I appreciate you taking the call, man. Before I let you go, give us your final. Well, I guess your Elite Eight predictions, because I mean, I'm pretty sure you're gonna go with your Final Four with I'm pretty sure you got UConn, Michigan, and Arizona.
Yeah.
But we won't. I don't want to hear your Final Four because I'm pretty sure you're gonna go with those teams. I want some teams that you think are kind of good that can maybe give those teams a run for their money. And
so
I appreciate you taking my call, man. And,
thank you. I like those three. Hey, real quick, Grind. I like those three. I like those three. I like Duke. I like Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I like Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I still like Alabama.
Really?
I kind of do. I like
Phylon a dog. He's a dog. So
I like he is. But the only problem with Alabama is Phylon's not healthy. And you can tell. I kind of like another Big 12 team. And then you want a dark horse? St. Mary's.
Oh, and okay. I like it. I appreciate you, man. You have a blessed one, and I'll be hitting you up soon.
All right.
Sending some stuff your way.
See you, buddy. As always, thanks to Grind. Feel free to call in. Sorry for the long call there. Let's see. What do we have? Yeah, I won't say that, but losing at Ole Miss at home in a game where you had to have it was a real tough blow for them. Thunder and Knicks have wrapped up quarter number 1 in New York. It's 25-23 Thunder at the end of one. Two of the definite contenders in the NBA. And then they're flipping around on ESPN2 with the college basketball. Miami leads SMU 28-26 in the first half. I don't really know what's going on in the Arkansas-Texas game. Trevor Brazile has 11. Malik Thomas has 8, so I'm guessing Arkansas has a lead. Hey, caller, who's this? Hey, caller, you're on.
Hey, it's Steve from Greenville.
Hey, Steve, what's up, man?
You there?
Yeah, we're here.
Hey, I just got a question. You ever gone online and read the old sporting news? They got them all on there.
No, I've not ever gone back and read it. As a kid, I read it all the time. In fact, at one point in my career, when I was in Mobile, I had a conversation with the Sporting News about working for them. So, I've always there was a point where they were real.
Well, they got them all on there from the first one to the last one.
Oh, how about that?
And if you go on there, y'all were talking about that guy that got busted for PSDs this morning.
Yeah, Jerks and Profar.
Okay. 1973, Atlanta Braves. Reporter asked him, "Why did you lose?" The manager for the Braves says, "We didn't lose. We got out milligrams."
Yeah, it's kind of a tale as old as time, isn't it? I mean, look, it's one of the reasons why, like, full circle to modern day, when people say, why can't these schools just sort of police themselves and follow the rules and everybody obey rev share and stuff, and you'll get it under control? And it's like, because these are competitive people who the moment that that rules are put in place, they look for ways to either bend the rules or circumvent the rules. These are people that are always looking for an advantage.
Well, it was so bad, I kid you not, that with players using steroids, I mean, they would literally, like, open their lockers, grab them in front of the reporters, and say, "Excuse me," and go to the bathroom. It was that blatant. And the Braves were apparently one of the worst. That Congress threatened to punish Major League Baseball if the commissioner didn't do something about steroid use in baseball. And he talked him into letting him handle it internal.
How about that? I did not know that. I know Congress has at times been able to threaten to take away their antitrust exemption, which obviously is the ultimate nightmare of nightmares, right? For Major League Baseball, if they lost that, there's, everything would be up in the air immediately. So, but I'm not familiar with what you're talking about. I'd have to go back and research it.
Oh, you should. It is hilarious. And while you're at it, read the Sports Illustrated article from the '96 Olympics. And it talks about how the housekeeping staff had to wear special gloves to keep from getting pricked by all the needles.
Oh, is that when the whole AIDS epidemic was going on and everybody was obsessed with that?
No, it was from the whole story was about steroid use in the Olympics.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean,
that's where.
Remember when there was always all the talk about? There was always all the talk about the Eastern European countries, doing the blood doping. You had the Lance Armstrong stuff with the blood doping. I mean, people have looked for a competitive advantage for a long time. It's one of the reasons I always kind of thought some of the criticism of Barry Bonds, where he was like demonized, I always thought that was sort of a step too far.
Yeah, I mean, he may have taken it to the extreme, but he wasn't doing anything anybody else wouldn't do. Let him in.
Yeah, so, I'm for, as it pertains to that, I'm for letting all those guys in and just put it in context on the plaque. Like, here's what happened. This is, you don't have to put an asterisk by it. Just include it in the bio. I mean, the good and the bad. I mean, when you put Pete Rose into the Hall of Fame, mention that he was banned for the game because of gambling. As a manager. I mean, that's for people that are historians. For historians that go and read about these people, let them read the good and the bad. I mean, they're humans. They're not perfect.
Well, that one I'm going to disagree. I still don't think Pete Rose should be in. I know I'm in the minority in that, but him and Shoeless Joe both should never be allowed in.
Yeah, I'm.
If you want an interesting story,
It's one of these. This is one of
Read
those.
what happened.
This is one of those stories, Steve. One of those topics that, for me, I and I know this makes me a bad sports writer, but I have, on a scale of 1 to 10, like with 10 meaning I really care and 1 meaning I have to just sort of pretend, I'm a 1. It just, having been to the Hall of Fame, I'm one of the few people that was underwhelmed by the whole Hall of Fame thing, and just like, it doesn't matter to me. If baseball never puts him in, I'm fine with it. If they put him in, I'm fine with it. It just doesn't matter to me. So it's one of these. I've learned. I used to, when I did radio back in the day in Mobile, and this was a really hot topic, I'd almost have to pretend to like really care about Bonds and Rose and Clemens and stuff. And the truth is, I really don't.
Okay, I understand. Fair enough. All right. Enjoy the show. And just so you know, if y'all ever stop doing the show, my mornings are going to be highly disappointing.
Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that sentiment very much.
You're welcome. All right. Bye.
Bye. A couple questions in the stream. Is Chase? Yeah, Chase is absolutely on hand raise, guys. Baseball season, it's a little harder for him because of his schedule, and today's a Wednesday. I'm not going to be available tomorrow, so we probably would have done one tomorrow, and I'm not available, and so I don't know that he in his studio has the technology to take calls. I do, as rudimentary as it is. So I went ahead and just said, hey, let's knock one out. And so I did it today. But no, this has nothing to do with him. And then is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going to be eligible for the MVP? I think he can miss 4 more games and be eligible. I think Victor Wembanyama can miss, it's about the same number. Maybe he's 1 game under that. And I think Nikola Jokic with Denver is about the same. You have to play in 65 games, 65 of the 82, to be eligible for postseason awards, MVP, Rookie of the Year, All-NBA, etc. So, yes, as of now, he would be eligible, but he can't miss too many games. He sat last night in Chicago for kind of injury management, and the Thunder have been very clear that, hey, they're going to put team in front of his pursuit of awards. And I'm sure that's a little bit of lip service. And at the same time, I'm kind of following the Thunder as much as I have. I wouldn't be surprised if that's truly what they do. I think if you asked Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or, frankly, Nikola Jokic or Victor Wembanyama, you can win the MVP or you can win a title, I think they all would pick the title. Especially Jokic and SGA, because they've won the MVP. That's on the mantle. They both have a title. I'm sure they'd love to have 2. Yeah, we haven't had a duo hand raise guys in a while. It's just sometimes this time of year with baseball, it's just kind of difficult. Midweek games and then weekends, and frankly, the last few weeks I've just had some stuff going on. I've just been occupied. It is kind of what it is. All right, phone lines open for a little bit longer as we get to the 1 hour mark or so here on the show. I think Ole Miss baseball, I don't have it up. I'll pull that up. I'll give you guys an update on what's going on with the Rebels in the midweek. Again, Evansville this weekend. Ole Miss and North Alabama are playing tonight at Swayze. The game is in the bottom of the first inning. North Alabama leads 1-0. Got a run in the top of the first. Ole Miss has a runner on, and nobody out early. I can't really see the screen, but that's what it looks like. 1-0 North Alabama, very early in that game out at Swayze. Games this weekend. I'll pull up SEC games this weekend if you're looking at final weekend of the regular season. I know the Ole Miss season's been a remarkable disappointment, but if you're interested in some of the other games around the league, it can be some interesting ones. Senior night, you've got let's see, Arkansas is at Missouri. That's an 11 a.m. game on ESPN. The Hogs right now have a 13-point lead fairly late in the first half at home against Texas. Arkansas trying to get to 12-5 tonight. Texas trying to get to 10-7. 41-28. Arkansas with 3:25 to go in that one. South Carolina is at Ole Miss. Loser will be the 16 seed in the SEC tournament. Vanderbilt coming off the overtime win at Ole Miss. They go to Tennessee. That game is at 1 on ESPN. The Ole Miss game, by the way, on SEC Network. Georgia is at Mississippi State. Mike White and the Bulldogs, huge win last night over Alabama. They'll look to pad their resume a little bit on Saturday against Mississippi State. That game's at 2:30 on the SEC Network. Florida is at Kentucky. 3 o'clock game on ESPN. Both of those teams headed to the tournament. Florida very much in the mix for a 1 seed. Texas A&M in the tournament now after a big win last night. Texas A&M goes to LSU. Final game of the regular season for the Tigers. They're not going to any postseason either. We talked about Auburn, how big of a game that is for them. They go to Alabama. It's a 7:30 game on ESPN. And then Oklahoma slowly playing their way back into the bubble mix. They could really help themselves with the win in Austin and maybe some noise next week in Nashville. That game, 7:30 on the SEC Network. So that's the basketball schedule for the week. And then the tournament starts Wednesday. Ole Miss women will play tomorrow in the SEC tournament against the winner of Auburn and Texas A&M, I believe. I'll see if I can get you a score there. If I can find that. The one women's game that I see so far, Kentucky beat Arkansas today 94-64 in the SEC tournament. Auburn right now leads Texas A&M 48-45. That game very early in the fourth quarter. So Auburn trying to advance to upset Texas A&M and get a shot at Ole Miss. Texas A&M knocked off Ole Miss. Pretty painful loss for the Rebels earlier in the week. Texas A&M again down 3 in that one. Missouri and Alabama play later tonight, and earlier today I mentioned Kentucky beating Arkansas. Florida handled Mississippi State 86-68 in first round games there at the SEC women's tournament. It's time to take a call or two. This show's kind of up to you guys. I know you guys would prefer a duo show. Again, it's my fault today. I'm not going to be in pocket tomorrow. I'm going to be completely away. So wanted to get a show to you. So did a solo one on Wednesday. Our schedule for next week, I'll go ahead and tell you, is going to be a little frantic with the NCAA tournament. It's also spring break here in Oxford. Chase has some travel. He'll have a show to you that I think he already recorded that's going to go actually, I'll rephrase that. He and Brian Rippey are going to talk on Sunday. I'll bring that show to you on Monday, wrapping up the baseball series and more. I've got a couple of shows that I'm working on for Monday to get to you on Tuesday. I'll head to Nashville on Tuesday for the SEC tournament, and then we'll see kind of how that goes along. And then Chase is headed to Austin late next week for SEC baseball as the Rebels. And right now the undefeated Longhorns are scheduled to start SEC play next Friday in Austin. We'll talk about SEC baseball a good bit next week, working on a couple of things, preview the start of conference play, look at some trends from non-con from earlier in the league and that kind of thing. Again, non-con wraps up, or the last non-conference weekend is this weekend with Ole Miss entertaining Evansville here in Oxford for 3 games. We'll obviously have coverage at 24/7 Sports. All right, so kind of last call here for either something in the chat. Basketball jobs that I expect to open this offseason. I kind of expect LSU to open, maybe. A lot of buzz there. They're the way they're talking. They're certainly not giving him a vote of confidence when they could have. I'm keeping an eye on some of the Chris Jans to Kansas State talk. He He obviously denied it earlier in the week, but I don't know that I read a lot into coaches saying those things now, because what else are they going to say? It's probably it around the league. I think everybody else is pretty safe. I don't know whether South Carolina will make a move. I guess they could. South Carolina's got to make a financial decision. It's the long and short of it. South Carolina has to decide if they want to compete in men's basketball. If they do, it goes well beyond the coach. I think that's it, though, off the top of my head. I think everybody else is pretty set in terms of SEC, and then nationally, I just don't know. I just don't know. Yeah, I always look forward, Brent, to coming to Middle Tennessee. I love Nashville. I love the tournament. I actually, this isn't a fandom thing. I have had plenty of years where I covered Ole Miss on the first night and they lost, and I walk out of the building kind of depressed. I love the tournament. There was a couple of games last year for Ole Miss in the tournament that were a lot of fun, and I thought were a precursor to what was to come. Ole Miss played Arkansas on that Thursday last year on noon. It was a great game. Both teams played really well. Both teams made a bunch of winning plays. And then ultimately, Trevin Brazile missed a couple of free throws, and Sean Padula hit a just big-time onion shot. I mean, just a big-time shot to win that game for Ole Miss and to advance to a Friday quarterfinal against Auburn, an Auburn team that went to the Final Four. And the way Ole Miss played Auburn that day, I just kind of thought, oh, this is interesting. And it was. It was a precursor. When they won the 2 games in Milwaukee, I remember thinking, I'm not surprised by this at all, because you saw this sort of coming in Nashville, even in a loss. And frankly, I wasn't surprised when Arkansas made the Sweet 16 after the way that they played Ole Miss on that Thursday game in Nashville, where, somebody was obviously going to lose it, but both teams played really high-level basketball. I think the tournament's great. I love it. In fact, one of our sister sites today told me that they had a couple things happening where they might need some help, and I said, if you need help, I'll stay and cover it. You cover my travel expenses. I'll be happy to cover the tournament. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. It probably won't, but I love the tournament. I wish I could cover an NCAA tournament team every year. Be one of the sports I'd love to cover nationally is college basketball. I just think March's tournament settings are a lot of fun. You get access to players and coaches that you don't get during the year for whatever reason, and it's just a lot of fun, and the event's cool. F Webb says, what's going on with basketball? You know what? I don't think it's as complicated as people think. I'm working on the story for next week for Rebels 24/7. I think they were a little late to the portal because of the Sweet 16 run. I think that they had some sticker shock with the early prices. I think they ended up not getting the point guard they thought they were getting. I think they thought they were getting a healthy Corin Johnson. I don't think he obviously wasn't healthy. I think they ended up having to play Elias Camerdine on ball more than they would have liked to. And then I think some of the bigs that they brought in didn't really mesh. I think they had to lean too heavily on Malik Dia on and off the floor. And then I think they just kind of struggled with late games, and I think it became mental. And I think it spiraled on them a little bit. You go back and go through their season and look at so many of the games where they were in those games 4-minute mark or later, and how many of those games they didn't win. You change half of those and we're having a different conversation. But that's not how it works. And there's a reason that you lose as many of those late games as you did. And I think it's mostly the lack of a point guard, the lack of a big who could consistently give you points. Here in those last 2 weeks or so, James Scott has played a lot better offensively, and it's added an element to this team that it didn't have most of the season for whatever reason. Why did that happen? I don't know. That's where I'm interested to talk to coaches, players, get some perspective on why they think it didn't work. Because there have been times in the last handful of games where you can see conceptually what they were trying to put together, and it just didn't work. Simple as that. I will be, as I've said many times, I will be fascinated to see how they approach this upcoming offseason, which kicks in for them as early as a week from tonight. And I'll be curious to see how they attack that, the decisions they make, the way they do valuations, maybe even the way they evaluate players. I think they put some pieces on a puzzle board that didn't fit. And some of those pieces, had they gone different places, it might have had a completely different look to it than what they ended up with. I missed that last call. I apologize. I don't know who that was. I don't recognize it. But we'll stop there. It's I'll get you a baseball update real quick. We'll have coverage again. Tyler Comas is out there tonight. We'll have coverage from Swayze. This evening, it's Ole Miss and North Alabama. They're in the middle of the second now. North Alabama hanging on to a 1-0 lead in the early going in that one. Ole Miss and Evansville this weekend, and Ole Miss South Carolina basketball wrapping up the regular season. The women's tournament going on. Ole Miss will play tomorrow against the winner of Auburn and Texas A&M. We'll have coverage of all of that at Rebels 24/7. 10 weekend thoughts, probably on Monday, by the way, not Sunday. But we'll have all that content coming to you as we get you through into another week of podcast here at MPW Digital. Thanks to everyone for being with us. Thanks to everyone who called, people in the stream. Appreciate you. Talk to you again soon. Good night.